Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode number 13 of the Line Time Sports UFC Talk. This is your friend, Line Time Rick, at Line Time Rick on X, joined as always by the Hammer at Line Time Hammer on X. And don't forget to follow Line Time Sports at Line Time Sports on X. We're coming off of uh, a pretty good weekend at UFC 296. I would say that the card lived up to the hype for the most part, maybe outside of the main event. I think we're just going to get straight into it and talk about said main event. Leon Rocky Edwards. He defeated Colby Covington, unanimous 49-46. Obviously, if you guys listened last week, you know that Colby Covington was my pick of the week. Man, that was just absolutely terrible. Colby just, I don't know what it was. He didn't say that he was injured or anything, so it was just a lethargic performance out of him. He looked skittish. It looked like he didn't want to step forward. You know, usually when watching Colby Covington's fights, at the very least, the one thing you could say, he tries to walk down his opponents. He tries to outpace his opponents. And this time out, he was letting Leon walk him back towards the cage. Leon really did a really well with the inside leg kicks. He kicked his leg out. It was pretty much out by the first or second round. You could see the bruising. It was really hard for Colby to really mount much of an offense. And on top of all that, we saw Leon take down Colby. I mean, it,
Twice.
yeah, it was to the point where Leon was gaining so much confidence from the lack of output from Colby that he was like, okay, you know what? I'm really going to make a statement and I'm going to take the guy who's supposed to take me down and control me on the ground. I'm going to take him down. I'm going to control him. Obviously, we saw Colby. He won that fifth round. He thought that he won rounds 3, 4, and 5. It was a pretty I am a Colby Covington fan. That's pretty hard to say coming off this weekend, but I will stick to it. It was pretty embarrassing seeing his post fight interview, especially after Leon's, because Leon got a little bit emotional talking about how Colby made that comment about his dad and how hard it was for him to control his emotions and kind of still be able to fight his own fight without getting in there and being angry and overthrowing punches. And then they interview Colby. It was just so unnecessary talking about, man,
Yeah.
these judges hate me. I won 3 rounds. He didn't. He looked pretty bad.
I mean, I get it's a title fight, but I thought it was pretty weird to interview Colby, to be honest. Yeah, it was funny. Like he was like, saying like, "Thank you, the fans. Thanks to the first responders," and then he started getting booed, and then he just turned complete heel and said,
Yep.
"Fuck you, you guys are all a bunch of broke bitches," which I thought was hilarious. But yeah, I mean, the performance was it was what it was. It wasn't good. I just thought it was very weird of him not to try to push the pace in the first 2 rounds at all. Like he easily dropped those 2 rounds, and it wasn't even like he dropped them and was able to have any success. Like he didn't have any success in those rounds. He didn't make Leon work. He just kind of let Leon do what he does and kind of pick you apart. I don't know, like Rust definitely could have played a factor, but which it probably did. But I just think he was a little like scared of the technical striking and the power coming back at him. I don't think he wanted to get caught in those early rounds, and then maybe that was like his game plan, and then try to push in rounds 3, 4, and 5. But yeah, I mean, it was just a different level on the feet, man. Leon is so technical. So he's so fast too, man. Like he's technical, he's fast. Like we were saying, like he has good takedown defense, and that's like you can't really say that about a lot of UK fighters, but he's one of them that does actually have very good takedown defense, and he was able to even get some offensive takedowns. Like, yeah, I mean, the only round I gave to Colby was the fifth round, obviously, and like he controlled him that whole round, but still wasn't able to really mount any offense. Yeah, I just think I don't know. Colby is getting older. Maybe it's just father time kicking in, but like I still think he's a good fighter. I mean, Leon Edwards is top 5 pound for pound in the world, so it's not to say he's completely washed because he kind of got dominated by Leon there, but I was just expecting a little bit more out of him.
Yeah, and what we saw out of Colby in the fifth round, it's what I thought we would have seen the entire fight. And I don't think that I can credit that to Leon getting tired because he didn't really seem all that tired. I mean,
Nah.
in the fifth round, after the fight in the interview, he seemed like he was pretty fresh. So it's kind of weird to me that like Colby was able to find success in that fifth round. I think it was more of Leon playing it safe, kind of just letting him like won't let Colby get the finish, which is also weird. Colby did not look for the finish in that fifth round. He took him
Nah.
down and was completely fine with controlling him. So maybe in his head, he truly did think I won the third and I won the fourth, which There is a chance, the slightest of chances, he won the 4th. There's no chance he won the 3rd.
Yeah.
He very clearly lost the first 3 rounds. I mean, he did lose the 4th, and he won the 5th, but that doesn't really do much for you.
No.
But one thing that kinda sucks about this, fight, especially for Leon, is I feel like a lot of people, including myself, kind of the both of us, is we're talking more on how it was a bad fight from Colby than it was a good fight from Leon. And the thing is with Colby, when he fought Usman twice, he didn't respect the power and the striking from Usman like he did with Leon. And I think Usman is a more powerful fighter. I think he has the harder punches. But I think with Leon, he has such an array of different kind of strikes. He's got the kicks, he's got the fists, he's got everything. And like you said, he's got good takedown defense. And I think Colby went in there and he really was respecting all the different array of things that Leon could throw at him. And he just
Yeah.
never got started. He didn't get started until the 5th round. And it was weird. It wasn't great. And kind of moving on to what's next for the both of these guys. We said last week, throwing it back again to last week, we said we asked ourselves, who is this fight more important for? And I think we both said Colby. At least I said Colby. And that's because this is his 3rd title fight. That was his 3rd title fight. And it's really hard to get yourself a 4th title fight when you never win the undisputed belt. So for him to get back up into the lights of a title contender, he's gotta win 2, 3 more fights. Like you said, he's 35, Father Time's catching up to him. It's possible. It is, but it's a really long and hard road. His post-fight interview, Colby called out, Wonder Boy, which is a really weird call out. He said that Wonder Boy's been talking a lot of trash on him when we all know that Wonder Boy doesn't talk trash. We'll talk about Wonder Boy's fight a little bit down the line, but, like, really weird call out. It'd be a fun fight to watch, I guess. I don't really love that, matchup for Wonder Boy at all. I mean, we'll talk about Wonder Boy's fight that he had this weekend. Uh, if Colby could implement his game plan, that seems like a very easy win for Colby. I would like to see Wonder Boy. Wonder Boy's another guy that doesn't have a lot of fights left. We'll be in more depth about it, but I'd like to see him fight another striker. And we'll talk about what's next for Leon, I guess. You would think Bilal, but again, in their post-fight interviews, Leon he didn't sound all too keen in fighting Bilal. He said there isn't much of a reason for him to fight Bilal again.
To be
But if that
honest, he didn't sound too keen on fighting anybody.
Yeah, it's weird. He really didn't, and, like, I think that he kinda rumored himself going up to 185 and fighting Strickland, but we all know that Strickland and Dricus, which we'll talk about that too, that fight's gonna happen. So who's to say that Sean Strickland's gonna be the champion after that fight? I mean, he's probably the favorite. I think those odds are out. I would assume that he is the favorite, but not a wide margin, but who's to say Sean Strickland's a champion? So who's to say that Leon will be able to go up and make that double champ fight? But if not for Bilal, it would have to be Shavkat, you would think, who just again beat Wonder Boy, but that seems like a quick road to the title fight for Shavkat, and I would think that Leon would kind of prefer to fight Shavkat to Bilal.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's weird. Like he was kind of dismissive of both. I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure, and I think they asked him about Shavkat too. I could be wrong, but yeah, I don't know. I think it's Bilal next. Not a huge fan of the guy, but he is a really good fighter, and there's history there with them fighting once, and then Leon with the incidental eye poke, which was a really bad eye poke, but it wasn't on purpose. I just think, I mean, I just think it honestly that it's kind of too early for Shavkat. Like, yeah, he's 18-0, 17-0, or whatever he is with all finishes, but like it's coming off a win over Wonder Boy Thompson, who's not a real title contender, and then his fight before he beat Jeff Neal, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah.
Um, so I mean, those aren't bad wins by any means, but I think there's one more fight for him before he gets a title. Bilal's taken out more top contenders than anyone else that deserves a title shot. So I think it's Bilal next. Obviously, there's history there. Bilal's been pretty vocal about how Leon doesn't want to fight him, so there's a little bit of bad blood there and stuff. So I don't know. I think it's Bilal next. I think it's gonna be a good fight too. I mean, Bilal just gets better and better. I went back and rewatched that uh, fight where the eye poke happened, and Bilal honestly did pretty well defensively. Like there wasn't much going on in that fight before the eye poke. Like Leon was definitely winning, but it was pretty slight. So yeah, I mean I'd be fine. I want them to run that fight. I think that's the best fight for the division at the moment.
Yeah, and I think that, like, the only real possibilities, like I said, if Strickland wins, Leon could go up and make that double champ fight. I don't see it being Leon versus Dricus. So I guess the only real possibilities is Strickland wins and you make Leon versus Strickland, Bilal and Leon Shavkat. But if you do have Leon go up and fight for the double champ status, then I think you got to make Bilal versus Shavkat for an interim.
Yeah.
And I think that I don't know how Bilal would feel about that. I'm sure he'd be happy to get his chance at the title fight, but I think that that's stylistically, I think that he would much rather face Leon than Shavkat.
Yeah, I probably agree. L- Bilal's more of a wrestler base grappler type of fighter. Like his striking has gotten a lot better. He kind of wants to take you down and drown you that way, work in the clinch. He has pretty solid leg kicks. I think, yeah, stylistically, that probably a better fight for him would be Leon. Yeah, it's interesting. Like, Shavkat in that first round, like Wonderboy was doing a decent job on the feet. I saw that Shavkat had an ankle injury before that fight, and I guess that's why his coach said he had such a heavy grappling game plan. I mean, I would have thought that that would have been his game plan anyways, just knowing who Wonder Boy is and how he's dropped so many fights by getting wrestled. So definitely interesting. Either way though, it's a tough fight. You know, like you're fighting Leon, you're fighting Shavkat. Like both are super high level fighters. So, but I'd agree with you. I think stylistically, I think he matches up better against Leon.
Who would you guys
Yeah,
wanna see the most out of those 3? Bilal, Shavkat, or Sean Strickland for Leon?
I don't know. I don't think I wouldn't like. I'd probably Bilal, to be honest. I think he deserves it. I think it will be a good stylistic fight. I don't think I'm not gonna say he doesn't deserve to go up a weight yet and fight, but I mean, what is so that's his second title defense, first one coming up against a long reigning champion and Kamara. So I mean, I wouldn't I like to see these fighters have a few title defenses before they go up and weight. Like that's what Izzy had a bunch of title fights before he went up to fight Jan Blachowicz. Connor obviously got went up right away and fought, but that's a different level of stardom.
yeah, we're
And
talking about the Golden Boy here.
yeah,
That's a different conversation.
I'd probably say Bilal, but I wouldn't hate him or Shavkat. I don't really care to see Sean Strickland and Leon fight this early on. If Leon keeps doing what he's doing and racks up a couple more title wins, though, yeah, he definitely deserves to go up there and try to get double champ status.
Yeah, who would I like to see? I would like to see Shavkat because I don't like Bilal, and I've already seen Leon and Bilal, albeit, like you said, there was the eye poke that kind of hindered that fight. I would like to see Shavkat. I think it's going to be Bilal. I think it should be Bilal. I think Bilal has earned it out of anybody else. And like the Hammer was saying, I really hate the notion of the double champ fights nowadays. They're kind of ruining it for me, man. It's like I get like we said, Connor got it kind of immediately. That was kind of just from a stardom point of view. It was kind of like a Connor wanted to move up to 55 because I mean, we all know how rough that weight cut down to 45 was for Connor. Um, I hate that. I just kind of hate the double champ thing. It's like, man, stay in your division and fight the best of the best. You're the champion of your division for a reason. You should defend your belt with those guys. That's why I miss the Kamaru Usmans of the world, man. I was never really the biggest Kamaru Usman fan during his reign, but at least he was active. He would take
Yeah,
what 3, 4 fights a year. He would
yeah,
defend guys in his weight. He never went up and tried to be double champ. That's what makes him the best 170 pounder maybe of all time for me. I mean, he really he took out everybody at the top of their game, and I mean he made laps in that division. I want to see Leon stay in that division. I think that going back to Colby for a second, who dropped to the number 5 rank, in that division, I kinda would like to see a Colby versus Usman trilogy.
yeah. I mean, that not a bad move for both of them,
Yeah.
considering where they're at in their careers. One thing I'll also say with that, with Connor moving up right away, another difference is Connor was literally starching everybody at
Yeah.
145.
His power was crazy for
Yeah, I
45.
mean, knocked out Dustin Poirier, knocked out Chad Mendez, knocked out Jose Aldo, who was number one pound for pound at the time.
Yep.
Uh, in 13 seconds.
Dennis
Don't
Seaver.
Yeah, Dennis Seaver. Like literally everyone he fought up to that point in the UFC, he knocked out except for Max Holloway,
That's what I
and
was gonna say.
and
We know
that
his shin.
well, and then another thing with that is he didn't knock him out. He also tore his ACL at the
Mhm.
end of the first round and was
Yep.
taking Max Holloway down because he knew that his ACL was blown out. And so yeah, like I don't know, but he still was landing great shots on Max. Like he completely dominated that fight. So I just think how dominant Connor was, and not just like him being dominant, because Leon's been really dominant too. But Leon wins a lot of decisions. Connor was literally starching everybody in that division. So, and mix that with the star power and make it made sense for him to go up and try to fight RDA, and then RDA obviously pulls out, and then he ends up losing the title to Eddie Alvarez, and then yeah, Connor knocks out Eddie Alvarez. So like it made sense at the time for sure.
Yeah, I just wanted to say real quick. Do you remember that video of Max Holloway talking about the Connor fight where he's like, I heard him scream. I asked him, "Are you all right?" Yeah, yeah, mate. Keep fighting.
Yeah, he was like talking to him out. He's like, "Dude, you good?" He's like, "Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I'm good." Like as he's on top. Yeah, that's hilarious.
that's
But
very funny. But yeah, I mean, I think we're in a agreement that Bilal should fight for it next. Obviously, I'd rather see Shavkat because I don't like Bilal again. But I mean, again, well played to Leon. Terrible performance from Colby. Just not going to
yeah,
sugarcoat it. That was probably the worst we've seen Colby in the octagon maybe ever. We'll circle back around to the co-main. We'll go straight into Shavkat beating Wonderboy. Like Hammer had said, Shavkat. It was revealed after the fight that Shavkat sustained a pretty gnarly ankle injury. I think it was Henry Hoof posted a picture of it. It kind of explained like, yeah, our game plan was grappling, get to the ground, work a submission because he couldn't really stand up. I mean, it's really hard to fight on one foot, one leg. But another just dominant performance from Shavkat, 18-0 with 18 finishes. I don't know if we've really ever seen anything like that. It is super impressive. That's kind of my argument towards making Leon versus Shavkat is 18 finishes and 18 wins is crazy. I mean, it's 100% finish rate. We rarely see that anymore. It would definitely be fireworks him versus Leon. I don't think that fight would have a chance to make it to the distance. I think Shavkat would bring the fight to Leon, and we've seen what happens when you bring the fight to Leon. I mean,
yeah, banger.
but yeah, I mean, again with Shavkat, it if his next fight isn't for the belt, then it's for a number one contender. I don't know if the win over Wonderboy makes him the number one contender, but again, Wonderboy was ranked what 5, 6, so it's a pretty big win. I don't know what's next for Wonderboy. I think that he said that he wants to keep fighting. I guess a Colby fight maybe, but I don't know why he would take the Colby fight. I guess that'd be a big win for him, but in the same sense, it's such a bad stylistic matchup.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good call out on Colby's part to try to get back in the win column. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, like him saying that like Colby or that Wonderboy is like talking shit on him. That's just him trying to build the fight more, and like he knows that's a good stylistic matchup for him. He's gonna wrestle for all 3 rounds and win a decision that way most likely.
yep.
Yeah, Shavkat looked good. The first round, though, I mean, Wonderboy was hanging in there on the feet, doing well. One thing I will say with that too is, Wonderboy like wasn't controlling the distance as well as he has in the past. Like a couple times, if you watch that fight, he is like touching the cage to see where he's at.
Hmm.
Shavkat's pressure definitely played a factor in that. But he was landing decent shots, and then it was just once it got to the ground, it was just a matter of time. That plus 120 by submission, cash.
Yeah.
But I mean, once we were talking about it, and we're like, yeah, Wonderboy's never been subbed ever. This is sitting at plus 120. We probably should have bet that,
Yep.
knowing that Shavkat's game plan was going to be to wrestle. But yeah, Shavkat looked really good. He did exactly what I expected him to. Pressured him on the feet, got him against the cage, and took him down. It was just a matter of time before he got the sub. Uh, yeah, he looked really good all around.
Yeah, and for him to go out there and dominate a guy like Wonderboy with the bum ankle, it's incredibly impressive. I'm trying to think of like even who else. I mean, you might be able to make, but here's my problem with making a potential Shavkat Colby matchup is if Colby beats Shavkat, then he's right back in the title conversation. So it's a pretty hard spot to put Shavkat right now. I mean, does he wait for the title shot regardless of if Bilal gets it? Does he wait in the rafters and kind of say, hey, I've earned my spot amongst the top. I should be fighting for a belt here. It's a pretty interesting subject with him, I'd say. And again, for Wonder Boy, at this point, and it looked like this is kind of what he was doing before the Shavkat fight. At this point, I think you just make exciting fights with Wonder Boy. Like the Michelle Pereira fight was going to be super fun before he missed weight. I don't see a title in his future. This was a kind of the test. Will he get another title shot? And I think that he failed that test, unfortunately. So I think that at this point, it's fun fights for our friend Wonder Boy. But I think we're going to take a brief little intermission. If we want to come back and you want to kind of say a little bit more on the Shavkat Wonder Boy fight, um, feel free. If not, we'll get into the rest of the fights. Obviously, we'll go back to that co-main event. And we'll talk about the rest of the main card, prelims, and we'll even talk about the upcoming UFC 299 bouts that got announced from Dana after the post-fight press conference. All right, Hammer, I think you want to talk about this Wonder Boy Shavkat situation a little bit more, kind of specifically the Shavkat, what's in the wings for him.
Yeah, I mean, it's just interesting who you would match him up with next. So if you're assuming that Bilal is getting the next title shot, which he deserves to, and I think that is what's next for him. I mean, you're looking down these rankings, and Gilbert Burns is matched up already against JDM. Jeff Neal is going to be fighting Ian Gary. Um, you have Vincente Luque, who obviously just uh, had the fight scheduled with Ian Gary, but Ian Gary had to pull out of that one. So you have Vicente Luque as an option, but I mean, that's 3 fighting 9, which is like fine. We've seen that before. Like it's not nothing crazy, but I mean,
I
it's
just can't
just
see Shavkat and his team accepting that, fighting down that
yeah.
much.
I mean, just fighting down like he just yeah. I mean, after beating the number 6 guy, doesn't make too much sense. And then obviously Kamaru Usman's still the number 1 contender, but he just fought at 185. So it's interesting to see if he's going to come back down to 170 or if that was just a one-off because he took that fight on short notice or whatever. But yeah, it's definitely interesting. Like, so you could make Usman versus Shavkat if Kamara wants to come back down to 70, and then if Kamara does win that fight, he's right back into the title mix. So, I mean, I think that's really his only option. I mean, yeah, you have Sean Brady at 7, who just is coming off a very solid win against Gastelum. But yeah, I mean, it's really tough to see what would Shavkat's next opponent be. I don't know if it's just kind of a situation if um he's just going to kind of wait on the shelf and let that fight play out. I mean, the UFC hasn't is obviously just the title fight just happened, so they haven't announced Leon fighting Bilal next. But like, if you assume that's what's going to happen, it'd be interesting if the UFC fucked Bilal one more time and said number 1 contender fight is you and Shavkat because, like, I mean, realistically, he should have probably been fighting over Colby against Leon in this title fight that just happened. So I don't know. I could see the UFC doing that. And like Bilal, obviously he deserves the title shot, but it's like can't really say no to that. The UFC's the boss, so it's interesting. I don't know. I could see them making the Bilal Shavkat for the number 1 contender fight just because how dominant Shavkat has looked being undefeated in the UFC, 18 finishes. So it's definitely interesting. But other than that, man, the division's all laid out and there's already fights booked. So it's gonna be tough to
Well,
see
so
who would
one of the
fight.
things that I'm thinking with those book fights is like, is there a situation where it's like, okay, so just to, I mean, we're going to talk about it a little bit later, but Gilbert Burns is fighting JDM.
Hmm.
Like, is there a world where, like, if JDM, I guess either the winner of that could fight Shavkat, or, I mean, there's other welterweights too. Now, I don't know that are
Yeah,
fighting at 299. Like, he just holds
yeah.
out weight. if he doesn't get the title fight, maybe he fights one of those. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's probably what I would do if I were him. I mean, it's just how active does he want to stay? Like, if he wants to
Right.
fight, he could take a Sean Brady, he could take a Vincente Luque. Like, he hasn't fought those guys yet, but yeah, it's interesting. That's why I could see the UFC just going, well, we got two contenders here, both deserving, even though Bilal is a lot more deserving with his the level of opponent he's beaten. But I don't know, man. It's definitely interesting to see what will happen. I just want to see like if Kamara is going to stay at 70, which I think he probably will. But I mean, he just lost to the champ twice in a row, so it will be it's going to be interesting for sure.
Yeah, and I don't know if I could see them mashing up Shavkat and Usman, uh, just simply for the fact that I don't know if Usman versus Leon 3 is really the fight to make in the state of this division. I think if anything, it's kind of a good time for Shavkat to have hurt his ankle because now that kind of gives him the downtime if he needs to have surgery on it to recover.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. We don't know what the extent of that ankle injury is, so if he does need surgery, he kind of can just sit on the shelf and wait. To be honest,
Yeah, so it is hard. It's a really hard spot for Shavkat. I don't think that they're gonna really mess over Bilal again. I think that would be really hard to explain to everybody if they just skip over him again.
yeah, and
He's he's the rightful guy,
yeah,
right?
and I'm pretty sure Dana has said like Bilal's next, especially him being the backup fighter. It's kind of like a Colby situation where Colby was the backup fighter for Leon Usman too. You know what I mean? And I think Dana does like to reward someone that came in shape, ready, came in shape, made weight, and is willing to be a backup fighter for a title fight in case something falls out. Yeah, I mean it should be below next, but probably should have got this title fight. So it's,
Yeah.
but no, I mean they definitely should give it to below next. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how that division moves along. Nah, did we talk about? We didn't talk about Pantoja and Royval yet,
No,
right?
that's what I was gonna kinda get into, and it's a weird one. Like, I was gonna start it off by saying when we were gonna get into it earlier, out of the main card, this is kinda the least entertaining, kind of the I mean, it was a decent fight, but I mean, compared to everything else, it was Pantoja, he just kinda beat Royval. I mean, like, he
Yeah,
beat him. Like, I Royval had his moments, but Pantoja was really able to get the fight to the ground where he wanted it to be, and honestly, Royval had some times during that fight where he looked pretty decent off of his back, but
his wrestling looked so bad.
yeah, and
His
Pantoja's
wrestling was
looked
so
good,
bad, and that's the
and
thing. Like I'm gonna credit Pantoja. That's what I was gonna. I'm gonna credit Pantoja because he does have very solid wrestling, and he did what he needed to do, and was able to control him on the ground. It just Royval's wrestling looked really bad, and yeah, Royval definitely had his moments. It looked like at like the end of the second round, Pantoja looked pretty tired, but I mean, he does this a lot where he looks tired, but it's doesn't like affect his performance all that much. Like the fourth round, Royval was landing some good shots. Kind of looked like he even had the speed advantage on the feet, which kind of surprised me. But Pantoja just immediately gets that takedown and rides out the round. And then in the fifth round, Royval looked really fresh going into that one, and Pantoja looked gassed. And Royval was flipping him on the feet, honestly, but he didn't have the power to really rock him. And then right back to the wrestling. Pantoja just able to take him down. And yeah, I don't know if Royval wasn't like throwing all of his power into shots because he was didn't want to like overextend and get taken down, but it really didn't matter how he was approaching that. He was gonna it was just like a matter of time thing in each round where he was gonna get taken down. So I'm surprised he didn't go for it a little bit more with maybe like some flying shit and like flying out or flying elbow, like flying knee or like spinning back fist, like kind of throwing that unorthodox strikes he likes to throw, and where he generates a lot of power. Because I get it, like when you throw knees, you throw kicks, spinning stuff, you're susceptible getting taken down, but he was getting taken down regardless. So I'm just surprised he didn't go for it a little bit more. Like he was landing a really good jab, good good straight punches. It was just it didn't look like he was really going for the finish, like trying
Yeah,
to knock him out. It was interesting.
kind of to touch on like when Pantoja was gassing super hard in like that fourth and fifth round, you could see that Royval was kind of smelling blood in the water, but it was like the last thing that needed to happen for Royval, the last thing that he could let happen was to let Pantoja shoot and complete a
Yeah,
takedown, and he let it happen like
yeah,
so easily on a bad shot, and
multiple
like
times.
it was like man, like they weren't good entries. They weren't like it wasn't super powerful of a takedown. It was bad. His takedown defense was like it was as bad as I've ever seen it look for him.
Yeah, I
In the
agree.
worst opportune time. Like it was like I said, all he needed to do was keep that fight in the feet and maybe he could finish it in those last two rounds. And as soon as Pantoja was able to get at the ground, it was the fight was basically over.
Yeah, I ended up live betting Royval after like the third round. I got like these. I think I got him at like plus 350 or something. But I was like in that fifth round, I was like, damn, he is pretty tired. But I knew I was cooked because I just knew a takedown was coming. Just like the fourth round, he was doing a lot better. But I mean, you could just tell the takedowns were coming. I thought Pantoja was gonna have trouble taking him down in the later rounds of the fight because of him being so gassed. But that's one thing about him, man. Even when he's gassed, man, he still has very solid takedowns. He's really strong for that division and was able to get to the ground and do exactly what he needed to do to retain his belt.
Yeah, so I mean that was basically the story of that fight was Panto how he had a game plan. He executed it to the perfect extent and
Stuck
that was
with
pretty
it.
much it. Yeah, I mean pretty much all we had to say about that one and I guess we'll get into
Do you even want to talk about this one?
uh
Are you okay?
uh no. This is another heartbreaker for your friend line time Rick here. If Colby wasn't bad enough, man,
It was a
Tony.
tough card for you, man. I'm not
It
gonna
was a
Yeah, this
lie.
was
it was
kind
a
of the
tough sports
primer.
weekend.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, this if my heart wasn't broken going into that Colby fight, it was completely shattered after it. But this one was just, ugh, this was the bad one. Tony Ferguson, man. We like to stay hopeful here. Both of the times we've been able to talk about Tony Ferguson fights, we hype him up. We say maybe this is it. Maybe this is his comeback fight. You know, he's only lost 5, 6 in a row. Well, he lost. He
Yeah.
lost pretty bad. And, you know, I'm not the biggest Paddy Pimblett guy, but he's growing on me a little bit again. I kinda liked him when he first came into the UFC. I liked his whole shtick, he was kinda funny. Then the Josh Emmett thing happened, and he signed with Barstool, and he became this guy that I just couldn't stand. And he looked pretty like, you know, in the build up to this fight, watching him embedded, he looked like a pretty decent guy. He was talking about how him and his wife were expecting twins. Um, he just seemed pretty down to earth going into this one. But then at the press conference when him and Tony were going at it and he called Tony a sausage, I kind of took that personally. Um, but I mean, then fight night comes around and oh, Tony. He's getting beat up bad out there. And here's what I have to say. Tony Ferguson needs to retire. He needs to retire. I'm sick and tired of
I don't
watching
know,
my
man.
guy.
I think he's got one more.
You
No,
think he's got one more, one
I'm
last
fucking
ride?
I'm
Oh,
fucking around. I
oh
mean,
man.
this was the nail in the coffin for me.
Yeah.
If he couldn't beat Patty, he's not going to beat anyone in the top 10.
Yep.
And Patty did some good things, man. But I stand by what I said on the previous podcast, man. He really doesn't impress me all that much. He like the story of the fight is Tony's chin, man. Like Patty definitely had the power to rock him a few times there. Looked like he was gonna have him out in I don't know if it was the first or second round, but Tony was able to roll and survive. But yeah, I mean he keeps his chin out. Like Tony was landing a little bit. I think it solidifies with how bad of a wrestler Patty is. To be honest, his
Yeah.
takedowns were atrocious, to be honest. A couple of those entries were really bad. And the last takedown he did get on Tony in the third round, where he was Patty was super gassed. I honestly thought there was a chance that Tony could finish him because he was so freaking tired,
He was
man.
really tired.
So gassed, and he was able to he had a horrible entry and he was able to grab Tony's leg and get him down, man. So seeing stuff like that really just like solidifies that Tony is done. He should not be fighting anymore. Like, it's just one of those things. Like, I mean, I don't think he needs like the money per se. Like, obviously, MMA fighters don't make a shit ton like other sports, but like Tony's had so many bonuses in the UFC. He's had a lot of big fights. Like, he gets paid pretty good. It's just there's no need for him to fight anymore and take unnecessary damage. Yeah, it's just like tough seeing a legend like that on such a bad skid. Like Anderson Silva's like my favorite fighter of all time, and it's similar situation where it's like almost just like hurting your legacy by going out there and fighting. People remember, people start to forget about all the good you did in the octagon, all the crazy finishes, all the great fights you were in, and just kind of the lasting image they have of you is your last few fights. And you just look back at the record and just kind of see those losses. Yeah, it's tough, man. Tony's definitely done. Paddy really didn't impress me at all. He had some good power, but that's against Tony, whose chin's definitely deteriorating and it's probably pretty much gone. But yeah, pretty much story of the
Yeah,
fight was Tony looked bad more than Paddy looked good, in my opinion.
I do think though that in that first round, that combo that Patty hit Tony with, that was a pretty clean combo. But
Yeah,
the thing is, going on X or Twitter after the fight, and the thing that really annoys me about Paddy Pimblett is his fans, the Paddy Pimblett truthers. Oh man, it was going on there and seeing people. Oh man, I don't know. He gassed out in a 3 rounder against Tony Ferguson. How is he ever gonna when he's in like preparation and like working his way towards a 5 round title fight? That's the end all goal for Paddy Pimblett, and he's getting gassed. And I mean, he could barely breathe in that third
yeah,
round against
it was
Tony
bad.
Ferguson.
He
How are
needed
you
that
gonna?
takedown. He needed
Yeah,
to get that takedown. It could have been bad if not.
so, like, if he is, like, really gonna fight in the 5th round and make it to the 4th, 5th rounds and championship fights, how? I don't
Yeah,
like, he's really gotta work on that cardio and, going like I said, going to X and seeing his fans. Well, he only gasped because, he was really pressing for that, knockout in the 1st round. Well, that's bad game planning. He
yeah,
shouldn't do that. Like, that's
yeah.
not what you should do.
If you're gonna gas after one big flurry like that, then
That's on you, man. That's
it's
on your
bad
cardio.
bad fight IQ. And like, I don't know, that's not an excuse in a 3 round fight, man.
No,
You
it's
you
no
have to
excuse.
you have to be able to pace yourself, especially if you want to be a top contender fighting for a title in a 5 round fight. Like, there's just really no excuse for saying, well, he gassed himself going for a finish. Like,
Yeah, and if that is gonna be your excuse, know who you're fighting. You
yeah,
know that Tony Ferguson, he might be on a long skid, but I mean, you've seen him get knocked out against what, Michael Chandler?
yeah,
You saw him take 4.5 rounds of Justin Gaethje's best striking. That's the best we'd ever seen Justin Gaethje look in an octagon.
yeah,
And
Yeah,
he
or
got
get the
what?
finish,
Knocked out
right?
standing
yeah. Or you have to, yeah, or if you
or get the
Or
finish.
yeah,
Really, yeah, like really
if you're gonna
pour it on.
deplete your gas tank, like, you have to know that you're gonna finish it there. Yeah, I mean, Tony, like, was doing some decent stuff off his back,
Yeah.
throwing up some subs, trying to elbow. Like, he was doing what he thought he could do with what he was given. It was just, yeah, I don't know, man. It's tough to even say, like, yeah, Tony. I mean, Tony's done. He should not fight next or fight in the UFC. And that's the thing. It's like, I don't know, like, the UFC's not even gonna they're not gonna cut him because it's Tony Ferguson and what he's done for the like. Even Dana, they asked Dana about it after, and he was like, I'd really like to see him retire. But
Yeah,
there was no mention of this is gonna
cutting
be
him.
his last fight because I just don't think they're gonna cut him. And like, Tony is not gonna retire. If you saw
Yeah.
his Instagram after,
He'll
he
fight till he's 60, man.
yeah, which, like, if that's the case, like, the UFC will have no choice but to cut him. But,
Yeah.
like, yeah, I mean, but, like, I don't know. I feel like,
Dude,
I just don't
he's
even
got
know who
David
he'd fight.
Goggins now. There's no
oh
way
yeah,
he's
that
retiring.
that helped a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah,
That
that really
helped a
did
lot.
something. But like I
He
said, dude, I don't know who you match him up against. It can't be anybody in the top 15 because he
he what
obviously it can't be anybody in the top 15.
I will say, David Goggins was saying some really good technical advice in the corner. He was
Yeah.
yelling, "Get up, Tony! Get up to
Yeah.
your feet!"
Yeah.
It's like when you're a little kid and you're wrestling and your coach is yelling, "Get off your back, don't get pinned." That's what I
Thanks.
that's what I equated that
You ever
to.
watch football with your mom and it's like, tackle him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like, yeah,
Catch that ball.
I'm fucking trying to. It's a little harder
Yeah.
than it looks. Yeah. So yeah, the whole David Goggins thing was fine. And then we didn't talk about this, but Jack Black was in fucking Stephen Wonderboy's
That's
corner,
great.
which was
Tenacious D.
yeah, that was actually hilarious. But
That was very cool.
yeah, I don't
I
know
wish
how.
UFC would let more people do that.
Yeah, and more celebrity
Yeah.
corners.
Yeah.
I mean, that was definitely interesting. But I mean, I think we said all we needed
Well,
to say
did
about
Jack
that
Black
fight.
and the other member from Tenacious D, did they go into the corner or did they just walk him out and kind of like, fuck off? I don't know if I saw them in
I
the corner.
actually don't know if they were in the corner, but I did see like a couple people post like like that Ben the Bane Davis like
Yeah.
said like worst corner in the UFC, and it was a
That's pretty
picture of
funny.
Jack Black. I don't know if they just walked. I hope to God they weren't actually in the corner because
Yeah.
I don't know what that was going to do other than moral support. But
Yeah. Maybe he could pull out his role from what what was it? Tropic Thunder, whatever it is. But anyways, let's stop talking about Tony. I'm getting depressed thinking about it. Maybe again, I'll just say one more thing. If he does get cut from the UFC and he like tries to go to bare knuckle,
oh yeah,
who's going to be held responsible for that one?
I don't know.
I just don't. I don't want to see that.
I think
Nobody wants to see that.
I think that would be just so ridiculous if that happened. But I mean, I still could see like I was gonna say like Bellator, but obviously they just got that like
PFL.
PFL. Like I could see the
People are
PFL.
going to take him too.
Yeah,
Name value alone.
the PFL does like to bring in UFC fighters with a big name, so I could see him going to the PFL if he does get caught. But yeah,
Yeah, I
This is
just
I'm sorry,
hopefully that doesn't happen.
I don't want to inject basketball into this UFC podcast, but this exact conversation is exactly how Russell Westbrook talked about, where it's like he got to this point by being hard headed to like, you know, get to as good as he was at one point. And now it's also deterring him from like maybe just taking the next step, moving on, changing. I mean, the difference is Westbrook, it's like maybe moving down the bench. For Tony, it's like moving to a different career path that doesn't involve being in the octagon, but
I mean,
it
yeah,
is like so similar.
it's definitely tough when you've done something for so long and you were so good at it at one point, like
Exactly.
just like
Like you're
Russ,
on top of the world. I mean, like, yeah, exactly.
like Russ was one of
Westbrook
the
was MVP and
yeah, one of the
yeah,
best point guards in the game. Tony was uh interim champion on, but he also was like he's like one of the best interim champions ever in terms of like how many fights he won in a row, the level of fighter he was beating. It was just kind of one of those things where he never could unify because the whole thing with Khabib pulled out twice, he pulled out once. Like it was like a timing thing for him for sure. But yeah, I mean, I would love to see him coach, and like I think he would be a solid coach. Just like stay in the sport by doing that. Maybe even coach wrestling. Like I know he was either a D3 or like a JUCO wrestler in college. So I mean, he's a solid wrestler. I'd just like to see him coach and move on, but it's tough. Like when you've done something for so long.
yeah. So I don't know. It's obviously it's the end of the road for Tony. I hope that he can look himself in the mirror and like admit that to himself. The biggest obstacle is him right now. I don't see that happening though. So, like I said, I don't know who you match him up against, but if the UFC does cut him, he's definitely going to find his way into a PFL or bare knuckle because they're going to sign him just because of the weight that his name carries. But anyways, let's just stop talking about that one. Let's get into this next fight. Thankfully, this next fight was thrown onto the main card because of the Ian Gary and Vincente Luque fight being canceled. Josh Emmett and Bryce Mitchell, and thank you, Hammer. You carried the boats this week to go back to David Goggins.
I needed to. I was fucking on a huge skid. I had to bounce back. I had no choice. But yeah, I was pretty excited to see that knockout. Uh, like when it happened, but the Bryce Mitchell's like reaction after and how bad it was tough to be too excited about it because that was one of the most brutal knockouts I've ever seen. But I will say, like, just like Bryce said, after the fight, like it was just, I was so surprised he didn't shoot earlier. To be honest, like, even if he wasn't going to have success with the takedowns, which I think he could have had a little, I just didn't think he was going to be able to hold Josh Emmett down for 3 rounds, and but he didn't shoot at all. Like you said, he was like a little tentative. He was on the back foot. He said like Emmett, the way he keeps that low center of gravity and throws that overhand right was really giving him problems. So maybe that's another thing where like he just didn't think the takedown was there because how low Josh Emmett keeps it, how powerful he is. Like maybe that was throwing him off. But yeah, I was surprised to see him stand there, and like his striking has gotten better for sure, but it's just not even close to the level Josh Emmett is. Like Josh Emmett has insane power. He throws, and that's the thing. He doesn't like throw like a ton of combos and stuff, but his boxing's clean. Like he knows what he does well. Like he has a solid jab. Um, he's pretty hard to hit. I mean, he's just a very solid fighter. What a brutal knockout though, man. Like that was, I haven't seen many of that bad before.
Yeah, and it was just kind of the unfortunate circumstances for Bryce Mitchell that he was kind of ready to throw a shot
Yeah.
as Josh Emmett was coming in and throwing his own. And we obviously we knew going into it, we knew the whole time who had the power advantage. It was probably just a case of bad game planning by Bryce Mitchell. Again, it was a short notice fight. I think it was something like 11 days where Bryce Mitchell had to plan, and I guess vice versa. Josh Emmett had to plan for Bryce Mitchell. And I'm sure that Josh Emmett kind of thought that it was going to be Bryce shooting early and often,
Yeah.
but apparently that's not what Bryce had planned for. He was fine standing up for a little bit, and it was a little too long for him to accept that game plan. And we kind of saw how that ends.
Yeah, I
It was
will say
scary.
when I saw that he wasn't shooting immediately, I was so pumped. I was like,
Yeah.
this is great for my bet." Um, and it was funny. I was like, I yelled, I was like, "Punch him!" Like right before he punched him, and like I'm not even kidding. Like a second later, he fucking killed him, and I was like, "Oh,
I can
like
testify. I was there. Yeah,
That
that
was,
did
like,
happen.
actually just omniscience, yeah, it
yeah."
the you did the mom watching football tackling thing,
Yeah,
and
yeah. I was
it
like,
actually
hit.
worked.
I was like, hit
Yeah.
him, but yeah.
The Line
I
Time
mean,
crew was watching that one together, and we can testify to him that 100% happened.
yeah. I mean,
That was a
he
crazy you
punched
really
him,
that is, like,
and then
such a
some.
roller coaster, though, because the knockout itself was so insane, right? Like, but then
Yeah.
you actually it was actually a little too insane where you're like, "Oh," like, now it
Yeah.
kinda comes back up now because he's okay and he talks
Now it's
Yeah,
about it,
time to
it's
whatever,
worry.
so
Yeah.
yeah, it's
yeah.
cool now, but yeah, I thought it was cool that he like put on an Instagram video saying like he's okay, thanking Josh Emmett. I almost said Josh Mitchell, Josh Emmett for not following up the strike. Obviously, there was no need to, but there's a lot of times, man, like you're in there, you don't really like you can easily follow one up, especially if the ref doesn't call the fight right away. Like you're in there to fight, like until the ref pulls you off. Like your job is to keep fighting. So that was cool that Josh Emmett recognized, obviously, that it was a walk off KO, and that's the fight was over. And yeah, he just like thanked him. He was like, yeah, he could have killed me if he followed up. But yeah, seeing him like convulse there after, that was pretty scary. But I mean, he looked pretty fine. Like after, like Joe Rogan was like freaking out that he was like
That's
they
literally
were
what I
like
was gonna say.
letting him stand up, and like yeah, he was still on wobbly legs. Like, what do you expect? He just got knocked the fuck out. But it wasn't
Yep.
like he acted like, I don't know. He acted like he was like gonna die from standing up. Like I was like, well, the worst part's over. I think he's good. But I mean,
I
I
was
just thought that
literally
was
gonna
like,
say, it's like it never helps when you have Joe Rogan. Uh-oh, he's having a seizure. Oh no, this isn't
yeah.
good. And I'm like, Joe, please, like let it play out, dog. I can see what's happening. It's not good.
Yeah.
But
Joe's like
like
one for like the drama and the
loves it.
theatrics. Like
Loves the
it's like
theatrics.
I was like he's good now, man. Like yeah, obviously when he goes back to like something could happen afterwards where like you're in the hospital or whatever, but and like something bad happens. But Dana said about like midway through, not midway through the card because that was the first fight of the main, but like he was discharged from the hospital before the night was ended. So obviously the scans came out back okay, and yeah, I mean, obviously, I don't want to see him back soon. He needs to he'll get a medical suspension, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I still think Bryce Mitchell's a very solid fighter. I think he can beat a lot of guys in that weight class. I just thought it was a bad matchup for him, and
Yep.
well, luckily for me, it did work out this time.
Yeah. Hey, you're right. It worked out well for us. Again, it was scary. Like you said, it was kind of disheartening and annoying to hear Joe Rogan. Why you letting him walk? And it's fine, Joe. Trust me, I
Yeah,
think they know. We'll get on to this next one. This was a weird one. Alonzo Menifield and Dustin Jacoby. Menifield won by decision. It was plus 220 before the fight, money line
yeah,
before the fight. I don't know what the decision odds were. I can guarantee you
uh,
they were really high. But like,
yeah.
even when they announced the decision, it's like Alonzo Menifield was like shocked to hear it. Like, I think that they got it right. Dustin Jacoby was kind of controlling the fight at times, but Alonzo Menifield definitely landed the bigger shots and almost finished him once or twice. So I think that they got the right decision. It was just like weird for Alonzo Menifield to hear his name, like the reaction that he gave.
Well, yeah, it was definitely interesting. I know when I gave like my breakdown, I thought Mendenfield had like a 1 to 2 minute
Hmm.
window to put him out. But credit to Mendenfield, man, his gas tank looked a lot better. I think a part of that though is he didn't have to wrestle. Like when we've seen him in the past, where he gets really gassed, like people take him down and tire him out that way. With Jacoby, it was his power was obviously giving him trouble, kind of just throughout the fight. Like he did get rocked probably like 2 or 3 times. It's tough, man. Like it's like hard to score those ones because like Jacoby definitely landed more. Jacoby I think rocked him once as well, and he definitely outstruck him. I thought I don't know what like the statistics were on it or whatever, but it looked like he outstruck him. In my opinion, but it's tough when you're getting rocked multiple times, and then like it was almost like every round he got rocked once. I think Jacoby did, so it's really hard to score when one guy's obviously doing more damage, but the other guy's landing and kind of controlling the center of the octagon, landing more. So yeah, I mean, I don't think I don't think there's a robbery either way. I do think Mendenfield thought he got outstruck and
Yeah.
outpaced, and I think that's kind of why he thought he lost the fight, man. But hats off to him. I was completely wrong. I did not think he would be able to win a decision, and that's exactly what he did.
Yeah, it's one of those gray areas in judging where it's like, what are these judges going to prefer on any given night? Is it going to be damage? Is it going to be control time? Is it going to be pace of the fight? So many things, so many factors go into it. And it was given to Metafield. I think that that's correct. I think that he was the winning fighter. I think that Dustin Jacoby still fought a good fight, but I think that Metafield like obviously showed that there was a big power advantage towards
Yeah,
him and that he didn't gas into that third round. I mean, he won that third round. So
yeah,
hats off to Alonzo Menifield, honestly. I mean, if anything else, same to Dustin Jacoby. Fought a good fight.
yeah. It was a good fight by both men for sure.
But yeah, and the last fight that I really want to go into detail in with you, this is should get votes for fight of the year, not women's fight of the year, fight of the year in general. It's the second best women's MMA fight I've ever watched. It was Irene Aldana and Carol Rosa. And Irene Aldana, she won decision. That fight was it was bloody, it was violent, it was back and forth, it was
Crazy pace by both women too.
crazy pace. I mean, hats off to both of them. They performed. I know that they got 50 grand, 50
Oh
G.
yeah, they definitely won fight of the night, right? They had.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I mean, it was so entertaining to watch. It was very obviously the best fight that of the night. Kind of because the main and co-main event were two action packed. Same with Shavkat and Wonder Boy. Same with Tony and Patty. Josh Emmett, obviously, but that was a quick knockout. But these girls, I mean, they went to full 15, and it was a war. I mean, they both. I mean, we saw the picture of them two together at the hospital after the fight, and man, it looked like both of them got hit by a car.
Yeah, 100%. Do you remember what the scorecards were on this fight? Was it? It wasn't a split, was it?
29-28 unanimous, I think.
Yeah, I think that was right. I mean, 100% thought Aldana was going to
Pretty
win,
positive.
but yeah, I think it was 29-28. Yeah, I mean, there's really not much to say about this fight, man. Both ladies stood in the pocket. Kind of looked like Aldana started maybe a little slow, and then she started landing that jab, and that kind of, and once she landed that jab, she was starting to land that straight right, and then yeah, she was just clipping her a lot. But credit to Rosa, man, she landed some really nice shots as well. They both stayed in there. No one went to wrestle. Um, really was just the story of the fight was once Aldana got that range, she just was able to put it together a little bit better.
Yeah. I mean, but again, if anything, both of these girls should benefit from that fight. Irene
Uh,
Aldana specifically, she's gonna. I mean, she moves way up. Carol Rosa still. I mean, what a performance.
yeah, stock raising for
Grit,
both
attitude,
women.
whatever. Yeah, I mean, there's whatever you want to call it. I'd agree as long as it's a positive because both of those girls did nothing but help themselves in the long run. Obviously, they're probably both going to be getting medical suspensions. Same thing for like you said for Bryce Mitchell. They're probably going to need to sit on the shelf for a little bit and let those concussions clear because I guarantee both of them have one. Um, but I think we're going to take one more quick little break here, and then we'll kind of touch on a couple of the other fights, specifically Cody Garbrandt and Line Time Buddy, and how we have a crystal ball into that one, which was the easiest thing of all time to predict. But
Well,
yeah, we'll
wait,
take a quick
real
little.
quick, I just wanted to say too on this fight, I think it's big for Aldana too because the last time we saw her was against Amanda Nunes, and it's
Yeah,
like, I mean, it's no one's really going to look good against her, but to then come back from that and have this just like absolute bout, like that's a good way to kind of fix the perception, right? So anyway, I just wanted to throw
Yeah,
that out there.
great bounce back for sure. But yeah,
yeah,
we
about as
will
good as she could have.
we'll clean up the rest of this card when we get back. Talk about a couple more fights.
Yep. All right, kind of cleaning up the back end of this UFC 296 card. We'll start with Cody No Love. He's back. Again, before we had taken our brief little intermission, I said Line Time Buddy. I said last week too that Line Time Buddy was 100% going to be on Cody Garbrandt. But where I went wrong, I said that he was going to parlay Cody Garbrandt with insert NFL team. I was
Yeah,
wrong. It's a Cody Garbrandt by knockout. And good bet. Plus 120, I
yeah.
think it was. And here's the thing about
I
Cody
think it
Garbrandt.
actually meant it might have actually even been higher than that. You
I
could be
think actually
right.
it was plus 200. I think that it
Yeah,
was
I'm
plus
pretty sure it
200.
was plus 200. So very
Yeah,
good bet.
yeah. So really good bet by Buddy here. We should have asked to consult with him, and he could have thrown us that pick, and we could have given him a even bigger shout out last week. But anyways, Cody Garbrandt. I mean, we all knew that the speed that he had in his hands never left. It was never
Yeah,
a matter of that. It was a matter of his chin deteriorating. It was a
and
matter of him
fight
fighting
IQ.
like an
Yeah,
idiot.
fight
Yeah.
IQ was the big thing with him.
But I mean, Boom Kelleher, he was game to throw hands. He was 100% game. Bad idea.
Yeah, Kelleher doesn't have like the best wrestling, and Cody was actually a really good high school wrestler. I don't think he ended up wrestling in college, but Cody was like a very good high school wrestler. I forget what high school he went to. It was somewhere in Ohio. But yeah, I just think like Kelleher has a really good guillotine, and it's tough to pull that guillotine against someone that's not trying to not trying to wrestle against you. Like he's decent defensively wrestling, but that's kind of his thing. When someone shoots on him, he jumps that guillotine and is pretty lethal with it. Yeah, the speed difference was pretty big in this one. Cody looked very sharp, very calculated, and just put him out pretty quickly. Look, really good win for Cody.
Yeah, like you said, a good win for Cody. Not necessarily one that's going to be like a resurgence for his career. Maybe he gets another good fight. He probably gets top 15 fight. You
He
know,
well, he did call out Figgy.
yeah, and but we no, actually no, Figgy didn't. So what? It was rumored that Figgy was going to get Peter Yan, but we'll talk about
Yeah,
the
yeah,
fight that actually did get announced a little bit. But that'd be a decent fight. I don't know how that would end necessarily for our friend
yeah,
Garbrandt.
yeah. I mean, I think it's stylistically like I think it's a good matchup, especially because like you got two former champions albeit Figgy was 125, Cody was 135. But yeah, like Figgy obviously coming off a bigger win against a top 10 guy and Rob Font. I don't think Kelleher was ranked, but yeah, I mean, Cody's coming off 2 wins. So, I mean, why not? It's a big fight.
Yeah, I like the idea of it. Sure, why not? I don't know if that's necessarily what they'll make. Um, I feel like it's a big jump for Garbrandt, but again, it's a big fight. It's a fight fans fight. A lot of people would be interested to see how that one plays out. We'll go into this next fight here: Casey O'Neill and Ariana Lipski. This was kind of the polar opposite of what I expected to happen. Ariana Lipski really controlled that fight from the get go, and it was kind of me thinking Casey O'Neill was going to be better in the striking department, the grappling department. But in reality, Ariana Lipski was kind of hitting her and roughing her up on the feet. Then when the fight got to the ground, she got her into an armbar, and Casey O'Neill had a tap. And while we were watching this fight, we always say how like flexible and how loose limbed the women's fighters are. It's like a lot of the submissions that these girls get put into, men would tap out immediately. But these
Yeah.
girls just are able to roll with them in the weirdest ways. But I mean, Ariana Lipski got Casey O'Neill's arm in such a bad spot. And like if she would have kept going, it 100% was going to dislocate or break. So it was a good call from Casey O'Neill to tap. But Casey O'Neill, as much as I think she's attractive, she's gonna be thrown into the delusional fighter ranking. She is so delusional, man. After this fight, yeah, I'm still the top of the world, but you're not.
Yeah,
You
she
could
looked
be.
she
You
looked
could
really
be.
bad, and that's the main reason I just like picked her to win, even though there was no value on her at minus 180. Like I didn't bet her, but I just thought I just don't think Lipski's very good, and if you look like that against Lipski, getting dominated in every facet of the fight game, yeah, I don't know where you go from here. She just looked bad everywhere, man. She looked
Yeah.
really bad on the feet. Lipski was picking her picking her apart from the get go. I think I tried to live bet Lipski like immediately after watching like the first like minute of the fight, and because I think she was like minus like I think it was like a pick 'em, and then right when I tried to get it in, Lipski went to like a minus 230, and yeah, it was yeah, there was no reason to bet her at that point, but yeah, she just kind of destroyed her everywhere. Good win for Lipski, I guess. I still don't think she's all that great, but I mean, O'Neal has a pretty big name in terms of like women fighters. So I mean, good win for her.
Yeah, that was the
Bad,
fight of all time.
bad loss for O'Neal for sure.
Yeah,
Um,
but it's crazy to see that that one didn't go the distance. That's one that I could have guaranteed went the distance. And
Well, even on when she had her in that really deep arm bar, like she was moving her arm pretty weird, and I was like, man, is she gonna fucking get out of this somehow? Because like they always seem to get out of those arm bars, even though when they look so deep. But yeah, it was in there so tight, so deep. There was nothing really she could do about that one. Good, smart decision to tap because it would something
very.
would have broken or got torn. She would have been on the shelf for a while after that one. So good decision on her part to tap there.
Yeah, so like you said, good win for Lipski. Then you got Tagir Ulanbekov. He subbed Cody Durden. That
He he
happened.
he looked good.
He did look good.
Gotta give, Tiger some credit.
Yeah, he looked good. The
I
one that I liked seeing though was Andre Fili. I'm so
yeah.
happy to see Andre Fili back in the win column. I feel like the sport is more fun when Andre Fili is winning.
Yeah, I didn't think he would win by knockout,
Mm-mm.
but great, really good knockout for him. He's an exciting fighter. I like, seeing him win. He's just like a down to earth guy.
Yeah.
Really no reason to hate on him. Um, yeah, good win for him. Definitely against a lower level guy, but that's what you need to do to get back in the win column. Start stacking dubs and see where it goes from him because he is talented still, man. Like he's talked about like he has trained with alpha male for so long. Like all of his teammates really respect him. Think he has all the talent in the world. He just needs to put it together a little bit, have the fight IQ, and yeah, I think he can still get far in the sport. Solid fighter.
Yeah, so hopefully that starts off a little win streak for our guy Andre Fili. Last one that we're even going to mention here is Shamil Gaziv. He defeated Martin Boudet. Shamil Gazib. He really dominated the fight start to finish. He really kind of just made Martin Boudet quit. Good performance by Gaziev. We didn't really like this fight going much into it, and I think that this was just basically written in the stars, which was going to happen. Not much to say about it. Like I said, he really dominated start to finish, and he really made Martin Boudet quit. It looked like after the first round, Boudet was not too keen to go back out there and fight anymore, but he did. Got finished. Is what it is.
Yeah, you said it perfectly. I have nothing else to say about this one.
Yeah, so the last thing that there really is to talk about with this 296 card was the little bit of a altercation. If you didn't see it, then you don't pay attention to the UFC or UFC 296 at all. We saw Sean Strickland and Dricus du Plessis. It was what right before the main card started, I think. They were showing a little bit of a hype video. They show their, how they do their things where they show everybody who's in the stands. They show the fighters, the celebrities. They showed Sean Strickland, and 2 rows behind him was Dricus, laughing and talking trash. You saw Strickland turn around, point a gun at him because that's who Sean Strickland is. And then from the many of angles we've seen on Twitter X of people that were filming it, even the UFC was filming it. You saw Sean Strickland turn around, and Gilbert Burns' wife and family and kids were all sitting there, and he very politely, please move to the side, and he jumps right over
Well,
his seat.
I assault this man.
Yeah, well, I
Yeah,
assault
I
this
mean,
South African man.
at least he asked the kids to move, right? Dude, it
Yeah,
was
that was a
funny.
classy move.
No, it was funny. They like the one reporter like asked Dana about it. He's like, "Did you see that he like asked Gilbert's family to move?" And he was like, "No, I didn't see that." Like he's like, "That's really nice." Like, and then he, like gave an eye roll. Like, yeah,
Yeah,
move while I assault this man. You're like, yeah, like I'm very good of him. But yeah, Dana said there that was 100%. The UFC knew what they were doing there, like
yeah.
100%, dude. Like when we
Dana
were,
planned it.
well, he 100% planned it, bro. Like we were all sitting down there, and we were like, "What the fuck? Why is Dricus like 2 rows behind him? Like this can't end good." And
Terrible
the
idea.
funniest thing about it is, like when they said Sean Strickland assaulted him, I didn't realize it was literally like 20 seconds after the
Yep.
UFC showed them on the uh TV, of like everyone in the stands. It was literally like because you saw the whole altercation or whatever, and it was literally like 20 seconds later. And I didn't think it would happen that quickly,
Mhm.
but
That's what I thought was so crazy. It was literally like the clip that came out from the UFC.
yeah.
It was just the what they showed on TV plus another 20 seconds. Like it was
Yeah.
exactly the same thing. It was crazy.
That was the funny thing. And then like, yeah, I mean, Dana was like, "Yeah, that's on me," because yeah, obviously it is on you. But he's like, they asked him, they're like, "Who does like the seating chart for this?" And he's like, "Me." Like that was a fuck up. And it's like, dude, I
Really.
like how can anyone believe that Dana isn't the smartest guy in terms of like he says a lot of stupid shit, but he is like like obviously he's a really good promoter. He's built the UFC to what it is. Dana would have to be like the stupidest person in the world not to realize when he's making the seating chart that um Strickland and Duplessis are right there. Like it literally made no sense, like what he said. So like obviously he did it on purpose. He's always says how he doesn't like that stuff to happen because the commission doesn't like it, which that's true. The commission definitely doesn't like it, but there's really not going to be any huge backlash for it. I don't know. Like maybe the commission finds UFC. Cool. Like they just made so much more money on promotion for that fight from that clip.
Oh,
So
dude, they're gonna promote the living shit out of that
yeah,
fight.
like what's the
The
worst thing
build up.
what they're gonna find the multi-billion-dollar company, and yeah, like that's all that's gonna happen from it. So yeah, Dana knew exactly what he was doing. He knows who Sean Strickland is. He knows that was gonna happen, most likely gonna happen. So
Yeah, like
I guess good on Dana for setting that up. So there's even more promotion for it,
that
right?
that's the thing is like your reaction could be like, yeah, Sean Strickland's gotta be more thick skinned. You can't let that. But like we know who Sean Strickland is. Dana
Yeah,
knows who Sean Strickland is. He wears his heart on his sleeve. He shows you who he is. He doesn't hide it. That was very obviously gonna happen, like we were saying. And it did happen. And the whole build up to that fight is going to be like those clips, and it's gonna be very funny. And speaking on like the build up to that fight, they had their annual press conference. It's kind of looking into a sneak peek of 2024, where they had Sean O'Malley, Sean Strickland, Alexander Volkanovski, Dricus, Cheeto, who am I missing? Ilya, and they had that press conference, and we really kind of for the first time saw somebody get under Sean Strickland's skin, where Dricus and Sean O'Malley were kind of talking about. And Sean Strickland is very open about this kind of stuff, but they kind of picked fun at him about like the struggles that he had growing up with his dad, and that's really the first time we've seen somebody break Sean Strickland and get him really mad. But that was a very entertaining press conference. Again, it's we know what we're getting. The presser we're going to get for 297 is going to be ridiculous between Strickland and Dricus. There's going to be a lot of security on that stage. And one other funny little tidbit: Sean Strickland moved up one in the power rankings in the top male fighters over Sean O'Malley. Is that because of the trash talking? Is it because he went and beat up Dricus in the stands? I don't know, but it happened.
It's just like super weird timing. Like
Yeah.
why is
It
there
probably I
why
saw
is
it. It
there
probably
any
means nothing at all, but, look,
Probably not, but
let
weird
me put it this
timing.
way. Alexandre Pantoja fought this weekend, in the octagon, and he didn't move up at all. And Sean Strickland fought outside the octagon, and he did move up. That's all I'm saying,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, and like another thing with the UFC, like definitely planned that. Dana definitely planned that. Is like they had so much promotional ammo with Izzy and Duplessis before Izzy lost. There was they hated each other. It was the whole race thing where um Izzy, like Duplessis was calling himself a real African because he's from South Africa and all this stuff, and they had the whole thing in the octagon where Izzy, was getting in his face, saying some choice words to him, and like there was just so much bad blood there. They had so much promotion with that fight. They wanted they want to build this one up to that same level, and what better way than actually having a fist fight at UFC 296 between Sean Strickland and Duplessis. So 100% was just, I think, the UFC wanting to try to match what just the promotion they had with Duplessis and Izzy before Izzy lost to Strickland.
Yeah, and so kind of going off of that, I think that the last thing that I'd like us to talk about here on this episode is the announcements that we get for UFC 299 that Dana gave us after 296. This card is already going to be headlined by the aforementioned Sean O'Malley and Cheeto Vera. Uh, the 4 fights we got, and here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna name these 4 fights, and then maybe you give me one that you're most looking forward to, or you give me a winner and a loser with these rankings. And also, one other thing I'm gonna do is we're starting to get a couple of the first UFC 300 leaks coming towards us, or at least rumors, I should say. So I'll start with the UFC 299, which is in Miami, and like I said, it's headlined by Cheeto and Sugar Sean. The fights that got announced from Dana: 3 welterweights, which are Gilbert Burns versus Jack Della Maddalena. Good fight. Another one, which is a new signing to the UFC. It's Kevin Holland versus the newly signed Michael Venom Page, and Ian Machado Gary versus Jeff Neal, which really screws over Vincente Luque. But that's the welterweights we got. Then we got the bantamweight matchup of the fight that was supposed to happen 2 weeks ago: Song Yadong versus Peter Yan. Love that fight. And then the UFC 300 rumors, that at least that I've been seeing, are that Zhang Wei Li and Alexa
Uh,
Grasso are
Grasso,
supposed to be
yeah,
fighting for the 125 belt. Bo Nickel is confirmed, but he
yeah,
does not have an opponent yet, and he's
yeah,
supposed to be the first prelim.
yeah. I think that was the only one that's like been actually confirmed is that Boom Nickel will be on that card, just
But
no opponent yet.
the other big rumor is that Connor and his team are pushing very hard to get onto 300 with Michael Chandler.
Yeah, I mean that would be sweet. I
So
don't
let me
know.
ask you, for 299, of the fights that got announced from Dana this weekend, do you have one specifically that you're looking forward to?
Honestly, probably Cheeto and Sean, just because how that first fight ended. And like that's the thing is like I don't even think necessarily like Cheeto like deserves this like title shot in terms of like his resume coming off a loss to Corey Sandhagen not that long ago, but just the way the divisions played out with Corey Sandhagen having surgery and Sean's only loss being against Cheeto, it just built for excitement. people want to see if that fight was a fluke. Yeah, I mean, I'm probably gonna say Cheeto and Sean just because there's definitely bad blood there. Sean obviously wants to get that win back. Um, and yeah, even in the first fight, Cheeto didn't really like Sean. He kind of was talking shit to him the whole build up. Same with Sean. It just yeah, they don't like each other, and there's a storyline there, and I'm a fan. I'm interested too, just to see um how they match up. Like I thought Sean was gonna win that first fight. He was a really big favorite. I don't know if they have odds for this one yet. Um, I'm assuming if he is the favorite, it's not going to be as big of a favorite. But yeah, I don't know, dude. Sean's looked really good after that fight and before that fight. Like he's just looked really solid in the UFC. And the thing is, man, is like Cheetah's not really a wrestler. Like he has like a little bit of a wrestling arsenal where like he'll clench you and can take you down a little bit, but he's a fighter that is can take a lot of damage, and when you start tiring out, like that's when he kind of puts it on you, and he has power. But the thing about Cheeto is he doesn't have that big of an output either. Like he kind of chills too. So it's interesting. Like I don't know if he'll be able to get that time against Sean. And I think Sean's a lot faster than he is on the feet. But yeah, I'm probably most excited for that one. How about you?
Well, hold on, let me, I'll give you the odds for it. Sean's -198, Cheeto is
That's
+164.
That's kinda what I was expecting. Sean was like a -310, I think, the first fight. Definitely at least a -300, so yeah, it's interesting. I think Sean's gonna win. I don't know if he's gonna knock Cheetah out. Cheetah has a very good chin, but I think he's gonna be a lot faster than him, and, I think he'll win this one. What about you, Matt? Who do you
Um,
like the most?
First of all, I do agree on your Sean and Cheetah read. I think Sean should win that fight. I think that it's a pretty easy first title defense for Sean, and I think that's for a reason. I think that the UFC really likes to have him as a champion. But I will say the fight that I like the most on that card, Song Yadong and Peter Yan. And
That's
that's,
yeah.
I mean, I love Peter Yan. I'm a Peter Yan fan, which is funny because I'm not the biggest fan of a lot of the Russian fighters. It's not really a Russian thing, but it's like a lot of them are copy and paste versions of each other. A lot of them fight super similarly, and it's like, it's the Dagestani thing. It's like they're all super good wrestlers, and then
Mhm.
you have Peter Yan, who is just good at everything except
Yeah,
for that fight with Marab. But like, he doesn't fight like a lot of the top of the line Russian fighters do. He kind of
yeah.
prefers his striking.
100% agree. I mean, but that like you said, he's just super well-rounded anywhere everywhere. Like he's really good in the clinch. He has really solid boxing, and he has good takedowns and good takedown defense. Like obviously that Marab fight's a one-off because Marab is just so so dominant as a wrestler and has such a crazy gas tank, and mix that with the pressure he was able to put on Peter Yan. Peter Yan was really never able to get anything going, wasn't able to get his boxing going. He just looked uncomfortable that whole fight. Um, yeah, I agree 100%. Who do you think's gonna win?
Um, uh, I think Peter Yan is gonna win. So like kind of what I was gonna say is going back to the Marab and Peter Yan fight. Usually, like how Marab performed that night is how Peter Yan performs against everybody else.
Hmm.
My favorite Peter Yan performance, and this is, I mean, it's just a weird situation. It's a weird one because it's the first Aljo fight. I had never seen Aljo come anywhere close to as getting dominated as the way he was in that fight.
Yeah,
He
it was
was
bad.
dominated. He was taking Aljo down and keeping him there. He was outstriking him bad. It was a very one-sided fight. Of course, until the illegal knee to the head, which was kind of the downfall of Peter Yan. I mean, who knows if he's still champion or not if that never happens. I mean, a lot has happened since then, obviously, and he's lost a couple of fights in between then, but who knows the trajectory of his career if that never happens. But I'm gonna lean with Peter Yan. Obviously, Song Yadong is coming off of a win last week, 2 weeks ago, against Chris Gutierrez. Song Yadong is good. He's a very good striker, but I just think that Peter Yan is too good everywhere. I think
Yep.
that he's gonna be able to fight his fight. I think the speed is gonna be as close as they come. I don't know who I give the speed advantage to.
I
I
was
know
gonna sorry, I don't wanna cut you off.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I think that's the one thing I will give Song Yadong a slight
Yeah.
advantage on is the speed, but like you just said, I think Peter Yan is so good everywhere else. I think this is a fight where we could see him wrestle, go to that clinch work a lot. Yeah, keep going, but I think just Song Yadong has a slight speed advantage, but I just don't think that's gonna be enough in this one with how well rounded Peter Yan is.
Yeah, basically the only thing I really wanted to say is, I do think that Peter Yan is but it's all gonna depend on if Peter Yan goes out aggressive. If he does, because like we saw against Marab, he was kind of shell shocked. He wasn't able to implement his style of the fight because Marab implemented his style. He beat him to the punch in the very
So
beginning.
so effectively and so aggressively, like
It was just like he
he
never
didn't
had a
give him time to
chance.
didn't give him a chance to breathe.
Yep, and if Song Yadong can do that to Peter Yan, which I don't know if I see happening, then I mean Song Yadong is going to win. But we saw Gutierrez kick the shit out of Song Yadong's leg.
That's
You
something.
can't let Peter Yan do
Yeah,
that. You
that's
cannot
yeah.
let him do that. That will be the beginning of the end.
Yeah,
Because
that's actually a really good point. Like Peter Yan's leg kicks are so brutal,
they're
man.
brutal. They're so bad.
And Chris Gutierrez is a very good leg kicker too. He's a good kicker in general, but Peter Yan's just as good, if not better. So it's like, yeah, if he's got to check those often, and yeah, that's a great point. I think that could be something to try to slow Song Yadong down a little bit. Try to just like kind of mess with his movement because that's another thing is Song Yadong has very good movement too, and he's really fast. He lands that short right hand, and it's so fast. Peter Yan, and he's powerful with it as well. So if Peter Yan's able to kick him, take away that movement, takes away a little bit of the power, and then I think he's going to get timely takedowns. I think he's going to work in the clinch. I think he's going to have a lot of. I think he has a route to have a lot of success in that fight.
Yeah, that's basically my exact read is, I remember when I really started to become a fan of Peter Yan was the Jose Aldo fight because I thought Jose Aldo, who's king of leg kicks. I was like, he's
Yeah.
gonna kick this guy's leg out and it's gonna be a rough night. And it was just like the opposite. I mean, like I said, Peter
100%.
Yan's leg kicks, they're disgusting. And Song Yadong showed that he is very open to getting leg kicked. So if that's how it starts, we know how it ends.
Yeah.
It'll start with the leg kicks, which will really wear on Song Yadong, which will lead to takedowns for Peter Yan, and it'll be a long night for him. And that's kind of the read that I have on that fight. That's why I was so excited to watch it the other week. I thought that it was a really good matchup for Peter Yan to get back into the win column, and it's a really good win against Song Yadong, who is a quick rising prospect. I mean, honestly, the winner of that fight, you put him right up there in the ranks of maybe their next fight is for a title shot. I mean,
Yeah, for
obviously
sure.
it's a hard division, man. I mean, Marab should be having this title fight against Sean O'Malley at 299. But I mean, Marab is so weird about it with seeing what Aljo wants to do, and we see now that
Well,
Aljo.
no, yeah, 100%. Well, they didn't announce. So, did you see that they're trying to make Cejudo and Marab, and
Yes.
I guess they both did get contracts, but I don't think Marab signed yet. He said he's contacting the UFC about making it a 5 round fight, which
Which would benefit him.
would 100% benefit him. And I get like why he would want to do that because first of all, it's going to benefit him, and second of all, like obviously, if he wins, like like he gets the title shot. But it's like if Cejudo wins, does he get the title
That's what
shot?
I
It's
was gonna
kind of
say. It's a
like
weird matchup. Like, do you
it
give
is.
Cejudo another shot? Like,
It's
I don't know.
it's almost like a thing with Marab where it's like I don't know. I would just stay on the like I would just sit on the shelf and wait
I
because
would be the backup fighter for Sean and
yeah,
Cheeto.
and then yeah,
It's
hundred
just that division is so weird, man. I mean, I saw rumors that Aljo's trying to get a fight at 299, which would just be crazy. He wants to fight Calvin Kattar at
yeah,
145 at 299.
that'd be a cool
Banger of a
match.
fight.
That'd be a cool matchup.
But like so like now that Marab, if anything else, is a super loyal friend. I'll give that to him. But like that doesn't help Marab. Merab needs to
No.
start thinking about Merab. And like I
Eh,
said, Merab should be fighting for the title right now. He is the rightful number one contender. But now you have Cheeto because you have the storyline of Sean O'Malley. So yeah, I mean, if he takes a Cejudo fight and he loses it, he doesn't get the title fight. Dana doesn't want to
Yeah.
give him the title fight. He's made that pretty obvious. I mean,
Yeah, and that's like the Cejudo get the title shot after coming off such a long layoff, losing to Aljo. But the only thing I'd say, like in his favor, is like there it is a different champion. It's not like it's Aljo again, and you did just come out here and beat Murad, who was the rightful number one contender. So I don't know. Maybe they do it, but I think that's the main reason Aljo wants to move up. I think he wants to kind of eliminate that
yep,
Marab having to make a decision and be loyal to him. Like once I move up, like Marab, this is your time. Go get the title.
I agree.
And then Aljo obviously has really hard time making that weight. Man, he could box around close to 170 and he fights at 135. So
It's just my biggest problem is like, let's say that Cejudo Merab gets booked, and let's say at 299, both Sean O'Malley and Peter Yan win, and let's say that Merab loses to Cejudo. I guarantee you, Sean O'Malley fights Peter Yan in a rematch for the belt.
yeah, well, and that's like I would like
Like,
that. I think that would be more deserving than Cejudo because
100%.
it's like tough. It's super tough because it's like mostly everyone thought Peter Yan won that fight against O'Malley.
Yeah,
Even though it was close, like O'Malley did do well. I think it's pretty obvious that he did lose that fight. Um, but the judges gave him the nod, and then it's like Cejudo would come back and just beat the number one ranked guy, and it's like I get like giving him a title shot too, but it's like before all the shit with Aljo happened with Peter Yan, he loses that fight very close. Another one super close, could have went either way. Loses to Sean O'Malley, same type of fashion where could have went either way, but a lot of people thought Yan won both those fights,
yep.
and then he finally does rightfully lose to Marab. But it's like, is he really on the skid that people like? That like
Yeah, it's
his
a
record
bogus
says he is.
three-fight losing streak.
That's the way I look at it. So it's tough. And I think that rematch would just be so sweet, 5 rounds, especially how like that fight was sweet. Like
So good.
both guys dropped each other. Both guys had each other rocked.
That was the best performance I've seen from Sean O'Malley. Obviously, I mean, now it's Aljo when he knocked out
Yeah.
Aljo, but like that was the one where I was like, okay, he's
Yeah, this
arrived.
guy,
Like
he's actually he's
he's
a real
here.
contender for sure.
Yeah.
Like he was getting taken down, man, but like he fought
I
well
still don't
off
think he
his
won.
back. No, he didn't.
I don't think he won.
He didn't win the fight,
But he
but
performed really well, better than I thought he would against Yan, and somehow got the nod. And again, that just goes to show the trajectory of Yan's career. He had to kind of make that hard fight against Marab and try to reclaim his number one contender position. That didn't go well for him.
yeah, 100%. But yeah, the bantamweight division's gonna. There's so many. It's so top heavy. It can't really go wrong either way. It just will be interesting to see how, with all these fights happening, how it plays out and who does get the next title shot. Because I think everyone can agree that like Cheetah is probably like the least deserving, but like there was just a
Agreed.
storyline there, and I think Sean. I mean,
Easy to sell.
when you're the champ, you get to call some of the shots, 100 like for sure, and yeah. So I think Sean kind of picked Cheetah there to try to erase that one loss off of his record.
Yeah, so I think that that's probably the most exciting thing, at least for me, coming up with these next couple of pay-per-views. I mean, from 297 to 300, we're gonna have a lot of questions answered, a lot of questions with a lot of the divisions, and see how everything plays out. We're gonna see how a lot of things stand come 300. Very obviously, there's no more fights for the rest of this year. It's unfortunate, but um, the UFC will be back starting in January. So like I said, I mean, what we had to talk about today was the recap and the upcoming big pay-per-views. But I think that's going to do it for this week. It was a fun episode, and like I said, we got to do a lot of hypotheticals, a lot of situational talking. It's going to be fun to see how a lot of these divisions play out. It's going to be interesting to see because you would think in like a month or 2 months, maybe you would see who Leon's going to end up fighting. Probably after we see what happens between Strickland and Dricus, we'll see what is going to happen with Leon. So there's a lot of questions that need answers. we're gonna see a lot of fights get booked between now and 300 for 300. Uh, like I said, that card is going to start getting shaped, and we're gonna start because 299 it looks huge. Like
Yeah.
with all those fights that got announced, 299 looks like an absolute banger, and we know that 300 is going to be better than 299. So Dana's cooking something up. If it's true that Bo Nickel is going to be the first prelim of 300, then that card's going to be ridiculous.
Yeah. 100%.
So yeah, it's gonna be a fun couple of months here. Make sure to tune into the podcast, and obviously we'll give you our fight predictions, our fight breakdowns. We'll give you our picks. We're going into the new year up units.
And I
Thankfully,
think I think we're up like 3.9, something like that. So
yeah.
we
So
just
it's
need.
decent. It's
Well,
decent.
yeah, no, it's not bad. And then, like a lot of people, like that through whatever 20 fights or whatever we've given out. Um, that's actually really solid, and I think we're just gonna keep building. We just need a couple sweeps here. It's very. I think we've only full faded like once, and
Yep.
I don't plan on doing that much. So we're just gonna keep building. Once we get a couple of sweeps in here, we will be getting those units up even more. But yeah, let's keep up the good work, and we'll give our picks. Wait, when's the next card? My bad.
I think first or second week of January. I'm
Okay,
trying to think of
so
who it is because I
January
know
yeah,
that
13th. It's
okay. Damn, that's crazy. I just hate how long this break is, but
dude,
yeah, it is every year. But
yeah, it's Ankalaev and Johnny Walker is the
that's it. Yeah.
main
And
event.
cool.
then the week after that is 297. That's what I
Mhm.
knew that
Yeah.
297 was going to be the second fight card back.
Yeah, so yeah, we'll just keep chugging along and keep giving out these plus money winners.
Yeah, so that's going to do it for this week. For all of our listeners, have a happy holiday, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, whatever you may celebrate. Happy holidays. Stay safe. Be sure to tune in whenever we do come back. I'm not positive if we're going to be releasing an episode next week or not. We might be taking that week off just for the holidays, be with our families. But whenever we do come back, we'll have a more set in stone kind of breakdown of our record. I think we'll do, and again, we'll maybe talk some hypotheticals that we'd like to see for 300.
For sure.
All right, it was a pleasure as always, Hammer. I will see you next time, my friend.
See you, bro.